the next time I come back to Europe, we have to hang out and play together.
We should.
We have to sync our gear together and just jam.
I would love that. I would love that. So I've been spending the whole week in the studio with Surco. He came over from the US for Superbooth, and with that opportunity, we've been spending the whole week in the studio hanging out, jamming, and tonight we've got a gig for the GIMIC online radio in Brussels. The idea is that he plays on his modular techno system and that I play on my modular techno system, and that we do live improvisation, reacting to each other, making it up on the spot as we go along, discovering it at the same time as the audience. Today's Friday and we've already been in the studio for 3 days. Tonight is the gig and I'm really excited. We're about to get ready to go, but before we go, maybe let's first have a look at Surco's rig, what excites him, what his gears and tools are, his philosophy about techno. Let's get into it.
I think what people forget often too with when you're doing, like, for me, what I would consider proper techno, like the stuff that's less structure, that's more about the sound design and that, is that it doesn't have to be a melody and a whatever.
Yeah.
It can be something like this.
Absolutely.
And a kick drum, and put this through an effect. And then put the kick through an effect. And all of a sudden it's just like a kick in one note, and all of a sudden it's a thing. So it's like, I don't know. I think I'm big on keep it really simple and then do sound design. So like if I turn this up and then do a sweep, listen to this. Like this was made to start the show. It's like that's what this effect is. That sound that you were hearing yesterday, that's the pizza. And what's cool with this is it has an internal envelope, so I can change up the envelope really easily. And then this mod index is, I love playing this for sound and sound design wise, because like if I open this back up again, listen to the difference between.
Gorgeous.
And then you have wave shape.
Oh, that's sick. Yeah. Going through a filter?
Yeah, it's going through the WMD carbon and then through the FX8 dual effects.
Cool.
So it's got a delay and a reverb in it. So it can just be so many sounds that it makes it really fun for my performance. So like right now it's obviously more of a bass tone. I can take it even lower and have it get like super growly, or it's got like 6 octaves, I think. So this is kind of a great lead. And all this is just a single note. Like it's just like, it's got so much character. This gets that kind of FM-y bell tone. So just a ton of diversity of sound. So I use this a lot for like kind of undertone style basses. But then if you move it up just slightly, you get a bit of a higher end transient that goes with the bass. So it's like dual sound. And when you put that through the ghost really only picks up the higher transient. So then you get this cool. So that's just taking just the higher transient from it.
And how do you manage to get just the high transient into the ghost?
And it's a low pass, high pass filter that acts as kind of a band pass with the resonance, giving it a peak. So as you move this will pick up different transients.
Gotcha.
So if I just want this, I can bring this all the way up here. And it'll pick up whatever's the highest transient in that sound.
Gotcha.
So for example, if I don't have, see, it won't pick up anything up here. So then if I was to layer in something like a hi-hat that's going through here, so the hi-hat won't be affected down here. And as soon as I get to the hi-hat transients, it starts to show up. So it just becomes crazy expressive for these background weird things. So this is just an offbeat hi-hat without wash, but going through the ghost, you can get like all of that. And then if you, again, bring in a little bit more of the transient here. Like often in a performance, I'll do things where it'll be going along and I just want a little sparkle. So I'll just do like, and you can just like take, and it'll just put a little thing in there that's just like this cool little ear candy that shows up. Another trick that I do with the ghost all the time is, this is the time divisions of the clock. So like if I'm getting something like this, and maybe I'm doing a big build up and I want it to get tense and chaotic, you can change this. And bring it back to it. So you just get a ton of expressivity from this going through the whole. And what's cool again, one note, offbeat hat, and then you add in a kick, and you have a track, like just from that, just because it's so, like those individual sounds are so cool and so interesting. So anyway, that's the kind of stuff I play around with that voice particularly. Like the pizza through the ghost it's like a magic combo for me.
Hell yeah. Blippy bloppy bird sounds.
That's it.
And so it's a highly resonant sort of band pass, I guess?
Yeah, resonant band pass.
Yeah.
And that's how you get the jungle bird tones out of this. The chirpy jungle birds.
Hell yeah.
Yesterday when we were playing, I was using the bass line a lot too. I like to do, with that one, I like to do like 16th note basses. I think sound great on this when you get it into that kind of 8-step 16 note patterns, and then I'll put a couple of just like jumps and open up the cutoff on this. You can shorten down that. Again, full voice, so it has an envelope built in. Really hear the double of the sub oscillator, and it's just fat as hell. This was that Tron sound. As soon as I put it in there, it's like this is like the motorcycle chase from Tron. The other thing that this has that's really cool too is it has a detune. So if you put it on the saw wave from this and you detune, it's like instant respace, which is another thing that's like super cool go-to. To just have it built in, then you sub that. And all of a sudden it's just like kick-ass bass lines. What I find is interesting too, when you get something like this that's really harmonically rich because of the detune and the sub-oscillator and the sawtooth waves, then you put that through the ghost. You wouldn't normally think like the bass line, you want to really clutter it up. But if you were to put just the bass through the ghost and then start to sweep this, this is what you get. And that's just that through the ghost. So like the same, and at the same settings as what we were doing before. Right? If I change the division, you'll get, so then it becomes like a rhythmic white noise buildup. of flexibility from one voice. The two most important things is the flexibility of sound from a module so that I can stretch it in a lot of different ways in a performance, because I never really know where I'm going to go. So I want to make sure that it's, I don't know, that I've got options, I guess. But then the other thing is that I can find those things really quickly. There's a lot of modules, like I always talk about the Chaos Devices Odessa. It's like one of my favorite oscillators, and it sounds amazing after 15 minutes of dialing it in. So I can't really use it live. I can get sounds out of it that I can't get from anything else, but I don't have 15 minutes in a performance to do that. So with this, it's like you hear how diverse this sound gets, like one turn of a knob with a detune and all of a sudden it's like a totally different bass. And so having that kind of stuff that can be really super flexible, but within one module. And that's the common theme. Like everything you look at in this case, every unit does that. You know, like we like if I was to go through, so like just kick drum. So like with the battering ram, I can make it like boomy 808 style. I can tighten it up and make it punchy 909 style. I can add a drive and make it super crazy gabber style. Right, but you've got all this flexibility of sound all within one kick drum. So then you really only need one kick drum, right? You don't need 20 different kick samples to do different things because you've got one thing that can do different things. Same thing with a hi-hat. So like with the Archer's rig, obviously simple closed hat, 909 open hat, and then you can change the filter on it. So you can get basically a ride if you want to from that. But then you can also change the engine. So like the FM engine, this you can pitch, you can use this as a lead. So again, tons of flexibility. So one module that with super easy turns of the knob can be 20 different hi-hats. And so you don't need to have 20 samples or 20 modules. You can have one thing that does 20 things, which I think is like the key. And you can see it's real quick to dial it in. Like any of those positions sound good. So you don't have to worry like it's going to take me forever to get there to find just that one sweet spot and then it's good. It's like, yeah, I can just kind of rip a knob in one direction. It's going to sound okay. And then I can dial it in after that. So yeah, so that's Kick Hat Pizza. And then we did bassline as well. The Percon's voice, which is the newest addition to the case. Normally it's a percussive voice or drum voice, but quick turn of the knob. And you've got tonal stuff. You can change up decays. This adds more percussive transient to things. So it gives you the same kind of like with the pizza had where you've got like a bass tone but with a percussion transient. So again, this then through the ghost. Because it has all those rich transients in there. You can take stuff or you can take off the effects and have it be a kick. So it's like,
this is sick.
Yeah, it's like it can.
That's assertive.
It can be all the things, and that's kind of for me the importance because I never know where I'm going to go in a performance. So I want options, and so with this, it's like okay, I can be a kick drum, or I can pitch this up, and then I can basically change the pitch of it. So going from a kick drum to this without even really thinking of it, and that's one algorithm, there's 13 algorithms in it, so it's just like crazy variety of sounds. So like, so if I don't change the settings at all, but I just change the algorithms, you'll hear. I love these types of sounds from this, the kind of like background impacts. I think. So also if you got, let's say you got something like this, but you say like in your mix or whatever you're listening to right now, you're like, I like whatever these notes or this pattern, but I want it to be more percussive. So then you can just shorten the decay and then add transient and all of a sudden you've got something totally different. Right, so again, a lot of variety of sound from one thing. I guess that's kind of the common theme in everything here. 90s trance lead. You can do kind of anything you want with it. Again, it's all, and this is a drum voice. Like that's the thing. One of the things that I tell my students all the time in my courses is like, stretch your voices. Like take it and make it a new thing. Make it into something that it's not, or that you've never used it for, because you wouldn't make this sound on your normal lead voices, but because it's a percussive voice, you're going to end up with these kind of creative, new, interesting things that you wouldn't have normally found somewhere else. 80s throwback lead. More kind of percussive sounding. This is kind of more the range that I usually use this in. Biggest toms ever. It's like one of those big drums, like the symphonic drum, timpanis. It sounds like a techno timpani. This one's supposed to be a snare voice, so you'll obviously hear that in it.
Kind of like a little rim shot and stuff. Yeah.
So again, it can be a drum. Wow. It's really easy to make it a drum, but I feel like using it as a drum is almost kind of like a waste, because it does all these other cool things. But it's like, yeah, I can use drum samples for drums. Like, for me, that's easier. I think sometimes with modular performances, one of the more difficult things is the filler stuff that you would normally do in a production, the ear candy and the effects and the stuff like that. So to be able to have effects chains or sends, or like the Ghost is kind of an effects chain in one module, to be able to have that can, like you see, it can turn one note into a full sounding track. It's like not the whole track, but it makes it sound more full. And if you've ever been to a show where DJs play and then a live act plays, the live act is generally louder because it's the higher, more power coming out of a modular system, but it's thinner. So there's like all these gaps between the sounds that you don't get in a production, because you would fill that in with saturation, or you would fill it in with like other harmonically interesting stuff so that it sounds like a full track, and it boosts up the perceived loudness of things. So when you have things like the Ghost or like other effects chains where you can fill in all that intermediate space, all of a sudden it sounds like a polished, finished thing, even if you're just kind of making it up in the moment. You don't have to worry about like the post-production fixing of stuff. Cool.
There's a certain angle, and it's only you in white, and when I overexpose it, it looks like you're in the afterlife. You're like,
here's the meaning of life, about the
modular god.
The modular meaning of life.
No, this is excellent.
But isn't it crazy how diverse these modules are? Like the sounds that come out of them.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's crazy.
I would love to hear what the Kosalin does.
Okay.
So this is from Chaos Devices. It's a frequency shifter, right?
Exactly. So what the normal way to use a Kosalin is to use it and pair it up with a voice and have the voice go through, so you can shift frequencies. So it's not a pitch shifter. It's shifting frequencies left and right side in different amounts. So it ends up with these kind of cool, bizarro kind of sounds. But the way I have it in this setup is it's set up as a send, so that I can put combinations of sounds through it and then shift that big bulk frequency or whatever that's going into that. So if we were to do something like really simple, like the pizza that we had before, and I was to send this one through the Kosalin, it's filtered down right now, so as soon as I take the filter up, so you can see it's adding a different version of the same thing. And then if you shift it, when you go to 0, you're getting just like your clean frequencies, nothing shifting.
Nice.
So you get this cool, like, adds new texture and depth to individual sounds. But where it really shines is when you start putting other stuff through it, right? So if I was to turn this down so you're just hearing the root note, and let's put this one back on one of the tonal, right? So that's the bass tones, but if I bring in the Cosline on this, and then I bring it back up,
dystopian panic attack.
Yeah, exactly. We were talking earlier about how do you create tension.
Yeah,
That's how you do it. You make it sound so stressful. Like make things just atonal enough that it makes people like their skin crawl.
Yeah.
But you hear like this is its own voice now because it's doing something to a combination of other voices. Right? So then all of a sudden you can get like, then you gotta kick an act. Just another weird way to do weird sounds.
Just another way to do weird sounds. The moral of the story.
Exactly.
Hell yeah.
That's one of my favorite all-time quotes is Jeff Mills said that he was asked about what is techno.
Yeah.
And he said, techno is music made with sounds from the future.
Yeah.
And he said it doesn't matter if it's being made in 1990 or 2025, it should be sounds from the future from that point. And so that's where it's like, let's make future sounds, weird stuff.
I was speaking with Lesser Of in the UK, and he said that for him, techno is just weird sounds over kick drums.
Yeah.
At the end.
Yeah, I think that, for me, techno is like 60% groove, kick, bass, low end, drums, percussion, that kind of groove that makes you dance. And the rest of it is sound design.
Yeah.
It's not about melodies and counter melodies and interlocking complex chords and key changes. It's just not about that. Like it can be, but at its core, you don't have to add that stuff on top. You can for certain types of techno, but at its core, what you kind of need is a groove and then some interesting sound design.
Yeah.
And that's all you need.
And it can be as minimal as just a bleep once every 2 bars.
Yeah, like we were doing before. If you've got one tone through an interesting effects chain, that's enough sound to be interesting enough to hear while you're dancing. And I think that a lot of times when people are at a techno event, whether it's like a club night or an after hours party or whatever, they're there to dance. And so the groove is going to make them dance. And then the other stuff is the interesting things that happen along with the night. So for me, that's kind of the movie soundtrack to their night while they're dancing.
Yeah.
And so if you can give them interesting things to listen to while they dance, they'll keep dancing.
Yeah.
And I think when you're doing like the techno of patience, that's the style that I like to do, then those things don't have to be dramatic and big buildups and breakdowns and drops and craziness and hands in the air and explosions and whatever. It can be really subtle changes because like a movie soundtrack, it's the soundtrack of the night.
Yeah.
So, and your night might be 4, 5, 6 hours, or if you're a Berghain, it might be 3 days, like whatever. It's like however long your event is, this should be the soundtrack to that event. And then the dancey part is what you're doing while you're there. So that's how I like to kind of think. As I'm building tracks live, I want to make sure people are dancing, but then I'm also giving them interesting stuff to listen to and kind of latch onto. Yeah, that's cool.
Whoa.
Gotta love that improv stuff.
Yeah.
It's fun.
Yeah. All right. The time has come. It's time for the GIMIC set. Let's pack up and get over there. Ready to go?
Ready to go. Excited.
Yeah? Yeah. Right, let's do this.
people,
maybe I'm missing
techno,
something.
and beer.
I think what you're missing is that
Cheers, Surco. We made it.
Exactly.